Welcome to Timeout, a podcast that brings creatives together for helpful and insightful discussions. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hey Megan, welcome back
Hey,
to the show. How's it going?
really good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm really excited to speak to you because, first of all, you've had an incredible transformation since the last time we did the podcast, and just excited to see where you've been and what you've been up to. So, we have new followers, both me and you, and for anyone new watching who doesn't know who are you and what do you do?
I am Megan Healey. I am a fashion and portrait photographer from Manchester.
Great. So, how long have you been roughly doing photography?
I think it's been about 3 to 4 years. I say 3.5 years.
Okay, so it's
Um, yeah, a
pretty much
little bit of time.
pretty much been in it for a good while. And
hmm
for those who are new and watching the podcast, this is our second podcast. A lot of the stuff around Megan's journey, how she started, what she specializes in, what she does, how she got there is pretty much all on the first podcast. So you can always go back and watch that. Today, I thought it'd be good to just talk to you about all new stuff, things you've learned since our last podcast, how your life has changed. I mean, I'm excited just to catch up on that. So let's just talk about the first thing, which is your transformation. Like
Yep,
physically, you look a lot different since the
I'm
last
like
podcast.
half the person that I used to be.
Yeah, and in terms of having like such a, we could say like a fitness transformation, um, how would you say that's helped your journey in becoming like the person you are today, and how has it helped your love for photography as well?
I just think mentally, I'm just a completely different person. I'm just a lot more happier, like healthier in general. Like I just can move a lot more. Um, well, I lost 15 kilos, so I should hope I could move a lot more. But yeah, I like my stamina as well, especially when I'm shooting in the studio. Like I've noticed, I shot in the studio for 10 hours every day, and I was nowhere near as tired as I thought I was gonna be.
Yeah,
Um, like people who don't know, I have a brain condition as well, and I thought I was gonna be like have a migraine after it, and I was still fine after it, and I was so like shocked. But yeah, like I'm just I was really confused at how losing 15 kilos could affect me so much just in my job.
mm-hmm.
It's just insane, like just thinking about it. And I don't even remember being that heavy, but I just remember being not like I said, my stamina not being as good when I was working. Um, yeah, it's just insane. It's just crazy when I think about it. Like when I look back at like that video there, I was like, I think that was January, so I was
Yeah,
like a month into my no, I was like 2 months into it then. So I did lose like a fair amount of weight, but I was nowhere near as light as what I am now. Um, but yeah, it's crazy just
I
to
think
look at
people
videos
don't
and see
realize how physically draining photography actually is.
100% is
Um,
my
Yeah, like literally it takes a lot of physical like willpower just to be able to like get through like a full day of like photography, especially
yeah.
like if you're doing like really draining tasks that require you to bring so much equipment on you
And
and you're
walking, like
yeah,
if you're on
especially
location, the amount of walking, like when I shot in London once, I looked at my phone, like on the pedometer, I did 28,000 steps. I was like, oh my God. It's like,
yeah,
just couldn't believe it. It's crazy how much walking you do on location. But yeah, carrying the gear, like carrying like my camera, like I think my camera must weigh at least 6 kilos.
yeah,
Um,
definitely for anyone looking to get into photography, just remember the the walking part from like location to location. And I mean, unless you're very like fortunate enough to like have, clients like pay your travel expenses, which, can help a lot. Definitely
yeah.
like just walking around in general with a lot of gear really takes it out of you, and it affects your creative process to some degree because, you require like energy to fuel your creative process, but then you require energy to actually conduct the physical process of taking a picture. And
100%.
I've
Yeah,
I've noticed that like at the beginning of the shoot, I'm obviously very creative, and then at the end of it, I'm slowly just draining away,
definitely.
and it really affects like how maybe like the beginning, the middle, and the end of my shoots like could
Yeah,
be,
you can
but
see it in the shots. You
yeah,
can
I mean,
definitely
doesn't
see
mean
it
you
in the
definitely
shots.
won't get great shots, but like you can see like, the you can definitely see like how it can impact like your physical performance to some degree,
Hmm.
but it's it's literally a workout, isn't it? Like doing
Yeah.
photography, when you definitely are doing it full time and not as like a 1 day or 2 day a week hobbyist kind of like regimen, it is very exhausting.
Yeah, definitely. But like, I'm only 5'1", and I was carrying my bag around, and my back was constantly hurting. Even though I was like 67 kilos, my back was constantly hurting. But like now I'm training like back in the gym. Like, well, I'm training it like I'd say 2.5 times a week. And now I can carry my gear around, and I'm only 52 kilos now. But I'm
Hmm.
carrying my gear around, and it doesn't hurt because my back's like strong. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm carrying around more muscle than
What what advice would you
gyms.
give to people who want to get full time into, let's say, photography? Do you feel like they need to build some kind of physical endurance on the side to really help try and like, deal with some of the physical pressures on the scene?
I'm not gonna preach to like, oh yeah, get into fitness, but me personally, um, I I would like, well, I did, didn't I? But it helped me a lot, so I would suggest it. Yeah, I would definitely suggest it. It definitely helped me. Um, but everyone has an opinion on that, and people that work 24 hours in a day, like we know, but people some like don't have time for it, I guess. But I have two jobs, and I make time for it, and I make it a priority
It's definitely
because I
something to think about, I
it's
guess.
definitely I definitely think you should. I saw this thing the other day, and it was like, I think it was, you should make, I think it was like 7 hours a week you should prioritize for your own body. And yeah, and I do more. I must do like, I try and train 6 times a week, and that's just to help me physically as well as mentally.
Yeah,
But
and I don't think everyone require that kind of regimen. Like you said, you were already dealing with a lot of other like, back pain and this, and so for you, I guess it was like a necessity. You had to do it to a lot of degree, didn't you?
yeah, it was that as well. But I used to do taekwondo as well, and I just, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, I can't believe I let myself get to like this. Like, I used to fight it like when I was like 13 to like 16. I was like, I can't believe I let myself get like this. So it's like, that was another reason. So I
Mhm.
had like multiple reasons. It wasn't just I was dying with my back
Yeah.
because of. So people have different reasons of why they want to get into shape. So it wasn't just photography, but yeah, I guess, like I said, people have different reasons as why they want to get into shape. But yeah, it's definitely did help. But
Do you feel like it's
yeah,
helped your motivation to, do better in looking forward to dealing with a lot of longer days now in photography?
yeah, my stamina, yeah, definitely, it definitely helped my stamina.
Yeah.
But
And definitely take
I wake
breaks
up earlier.
during the during the photography period. That's something I never used to account for when I was first starting out. I'd put it in my agreement, when I'm sealing the deal with like a client that, we require some sort of break on a full day shoot to eat or just to like, rehydrate and just let yourself recover from the physical and just like the mental like endurance of like just constantly working.
Yeah, completely. It's like when we had that conversation in the car about hitting vitamin targets and stuff like that. It's like it's just getting that switch on in your head of small things of looking after yourself. Like, so now I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and I have a routine, and it's just to
Top five, wow.
it's just to treat myself better
Mm-hmm.
instead of not looking after myself, because I feel like it's kind of abuse in a way if
Mm-hmm.
you don't look after yourself.
If
Um,
you're definitely in a field where there's obviously like, no, it's freelancers like I was speaking about this on the last podcast, like a wild, wild west. Like, there aren't really any like regiments for people to look after you all the time. You got to really take a lot of ownership in your own hands to look after you because on the last podcast we really did talk about burnout, didn't we?
oh
And I
yeah.
think the incentive to just make more money can encourage you to just constantly, work, 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 and
Mhm.
then you slowly lose sight of your health, your well-being, your mental well-being. So you got to be your own boss in like two different realms of like just the not just the work, but also yourself. Like who's going to take care of yourself? If you aren't functioning, you won't really be able to do the job.
Yeah, completely. But like I said, I think I said last time, it's working smarter, not harder. So
Mm-hmm.
there's times in the day where you can look after yourself as well as working. So you can be looking after yourself, so you can be in the gym. So
Mm-hmm.
what I sometimes do, which I find really funny, is I'll be doing sit-ups, and then in the middle of my resting, whilst I'm doing in the middle of a set, I'll answer an email,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like, well, I'm
yeah.
still working, but I'm looking after myself at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It's just like a mentality I do, but yeah, it's crazy because
I
now
think
I have
that's
two
just the new
jobs.
world we live in now, like we
Yeah,
all we all have to get used to being multitaskers in some way,
yeah,
shape or form and
completely.
it's only to your own benefit, if you can do a lot of things productively at once then you're just gonna have a lot more output, aren't you? But yeah, I like your
Definitely.
idea about working smart as well.
Yeah.
Um, since the last time we talked, how's your photography game been? Like, what's changed about it? Like, what's different in terms of like, are you taking different kinds of pictures now? Have you got
Um,
yourself in a new niche, or is it still, are you very much enjoying
when was the last time
studio?
when was the last time we saw, like, what month was
So
it
it
in?
was literally December 2020.
December. I
So,
think
I
I've been
mean,
in the
there's a lot of new
studio
content.
so much more. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like, and I think I've started shooting film as well.
Yeah, and since the last time we talked, you definitely started dipping your feet into film.
Yeah.
I remember that. But yeah, you said studio.
Yeah, so I feel like if you go up to the ones of Sahib, those are the ones that I feel like properly kicked my
Yeah?
studio game off. Yeah, and they were only in May as well.
So what's changed about your studio shots? Like, have you added anything new to your creative process?
I started to use Capture One for
Capture
these.
One. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that just to preview or are you doing anything more like with it?
I think I just spent more time just learning, and it was the lighting techniques as well I was using.
Yeah, these are
So
really cool. Like the way that you're cutting the shadows and the lighting. Like a
yeah, this one
little
was like, I think it's called through the wind, through it's either through the door technique or through, I don't really know or care what the name is. I
I'm
just know
sure
how to
people
do
can
it.
see what it is though when they
So
see it. Yeah.
basically, the it's created by three polyboards. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like two polyboards. No one can see me now, I don't think, but it's two polyboards.
They can see you.
And then there's a light going through,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm stood on the left side.
Okay.
Um, so the light's like peeking through, and then the model stood where the where the light's gap is. It just creates a really nice, like, it's like a harsh light, and then
Like
there's
a
two,
harsh spotlight, isn't it?
yeah, and then there's two like really harsh shadows at the side of the subject, and then a very harsh shadow at the created behind the subject as well. But that's probably my favorite lighting technique at the minute, actually.
It is
Uh,
really good. Like I definitely
I do try and use it on my male models a lot with suit looks. But
it looks very GQ vibes.
yeah, I really love that. But I really like shooting on grey backgrounds as well. I really love that.
I have noticed that you are experimenting a lot with like the different ways you shoot your lighting in the studio.
Yeah,
And you seem to be like mixing around the kinds of shoots you're doing. It's like a little bit of editorial, bit of sports. You know, a bit of.
I feel like bringing the sport in as well was that was just fun. I grew up playing basketball, and I just love it. I do love playing basketball, but I haven't really played it. See, me and Bill, we get on really well, and on this photo shoot, we actually went to a court before this studio.
Oh,
We
seriously.
took we took some film shots. I don't know. I don't think I posted the film shots.
Okay.
I might post them soon, but I haven't posted the film shots. But we had a game of basketball, but I pulled the ligaments in my wrist
Oh, wow.
before, so we had a game of one bounce, and I could only shoot with my left hand, and I still beat him. And I swear to God, if you ask him, he will not admit it. It's so funny, he will not
So
admit it.
you literally had the energy to do like a full-on basketball match, and then you came into the studio, did a shoot.
Yeah.
So how do you get into the zone of actually like, are you letting the model decide how they want to, pose for the shots, or are you kind of guiding it, or is it just kind of going off the atmosphere of like, oh, we've literally just, done a bit of a basketball like game before, it's just kind of naturally coming as it is.
For this one, I always have a mood board for my shoots. I
Hmm.
always have a mood board, but I will, for my, any of my shoots, I will look from my team. So I only had me and Bill for that shoot, because that was a very last minute shoot. I think on that court shoot, we was just messing about, but and then we booked the studio. Um, so I think I just made a last minute Pinterest board, but yeah, we were just messing about, and then but for like other shoots, I get my whole team involved. So whatever they think is what looks good,
Hmm.
we'll shoot. But because realistically, it's our whole shoot. It's not just my shoot, and it's not just model shoot. It could be the assistant shoot, it's the makeup artist shoot, it's a stylist shoot. We've all got input at the end of the day. But I think my favorite shot from that shoot is probably the one where he's jumping up. If he,
Oh yeah, I was just looking at that one before. I was like, you have some good
yeah,
timing.
that one. I'll tell you what, that took so long.
Really.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
proper
not
Space
that.
Jam shot, that.
It's just the
Hmm.
trying to frame it. That was the only thing that took a long time.
That's the convenience of like being in a studio. You can just take your time. I mean,
Hmm.
considering you have the time booked for it,
Yeah.
but it is so nice and convenient. And yeah, definitely you've been dipping your feet into a lot of different things: films, studio, outdoors, digital. Say you're pretty versatile, like in the way you show yourself online. Has that helped out in like, trying to really grow yourself as a photographer? Like, are you seeing the benefits of versatility? This is something I was talking to Sophia about on the last podcast, and and my other friend, Bailey. Like, is it better to specialize? Is it better to diversify? Like, are you kind of like in that stage of diversifying now?
Um, I think I was at a point where I I am. So I have this thing where on my Instagram, I'm very, I think I want to use the word static. I always use the word static. So I kind of stay where I am in terms of I just stay in the studio with it, especially at the minute. I don't think I'll be moving anywhere from the studio, just because that's kind of where my heart lies at the minute. Um, like, don't get me wrong, majority of my clients will be clothing brands. It'll be, I don't know, music, etc. But I like now I don't shoot ecom anymore. Like I won't take on ecom clients. I won't take anything else like that. But studio stuff will be like portfolio updates. It'll be beauty stuff, things like that. But or like it'll just be my own. It'll just be my own projects that I want to do. So like that shoot that I did with Ellis with the yellow lid that I literally just posted today. Um, but yeah, I don't feel like I'll be diversifying my Instagram at the minute. But if you go onto my website, that'll be that is for people that want to find me for literally anything. So that'll be video, that'll be products, that'll be retouching, that's for property. So
Yeah, you
anything you
definitely have
need,
a
that
lot
is
of
on
like,
there.
yeah.
But that is for like any client. So if they want anything, that is on there. But yeah, for me personally, my heart is for the studio. But if anybody asked me like, do you do anything else, I would just send them straight over to my website.
Yeah, you've definitely dipped your feet in a lot of different things. So I see this kind of like discussion a lot that you're talking about where a lot of people definitely want to, at least on Instagram, show their specialism and then kind of offload the rest onto the website just to show that you are very versatile. I think
Mhm.
that's becoming more and more common now. That the way that you, or maybe it's just like a natural way of trying to, organically like stand out from the rest in your own ways. Because I think it definitely, photography definitely is becoming more and more, in demand now. Especially with like the growth of Instagram, and you have to find a way to separate yourself online.
Yeah.
So like showing your like best sort of like specialism is a good way of kind of grabbing attention.
Yeah, I think like I would say my website is my portfolio, and I
Mhm.
would say my Instagram is what I want to be doing in about 20 years,
Yeah, that's a great
if
way
that
of
makes
putting it.
sense.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
So I know, so my long-term goal is to be shooting for like high fashion magazines. I think that's my long-term
Hmm.
goal. But right now, obviously, I'm 22. It's not going to be happening yet.
Takes time,
Well,
and
it
it's
well
a
it
it's
well
it's a long
it
game.
can happen, but I'm definitely not there yet, and I know that. But that's where my progress is going to be, and that's what I want to show, that's where I want to be heading. Um, but yeah, my website is just for my portfolio, and that's what I'd send to people if they were like, for example, do you shoot a wedding? I don't shoot weddings, but that's where I would send them if I did.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know that you're versatile. And since the last time we spoke, you obviously were pretty much doing photography full time, weren't you? Like you're
Hmm.
literally just doing photography, and you've always been doing a great job of doing it full time as well. You always are busy and always, working away. But you've had like a different change in like how you're working now. So what is it you're doing differently now than you were like 6 months ago?
So basically, I took a step back. It was just it's actually really ironic because we made a video about being burnt out.
Mm.
So
Would you say you
I
got
just,
there?
yeah, 100%. I just burnt out
Hmm.
straight, just burnt out, and I spoke to my mum about it, and I was like, to be fair, if it wasn't for my mum, I probably would have stopped completely. Um, I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. I wasn't doing anything. I was just sat at home all the time, and it, I want to say the thing that topped it all off was my retouching pen went missing,
Oh no.
and that was just the tip of the iceberg, and
You were
everything
doing
went
a
to
lot,
shit.
weren't you? Yeah, I remember you like literally you would just always be like, sending your sort of like venting messages of, "Oh my God, I've lost this, I've lost that. I don't know what to
Yeah,
do. I've
I
got
feel
all
like
this
everything
work."
was just going wrong, and like
Mm.
it was just nothing was going right, and
Was
it
that a
just
product of just taking too much on for yourself, and accepting
100%.
all kinds of
Yeah,
jobs?
I just wasn't doing what I should have been doing. I was shooting things that I shouldn't have been shooting. Not like that, but I mean like
It's in
things
just
that
stuff you may not have been interested in
yeah, things
necessarily.
that I wasn't like ecom. I can't stand shooting ecom. Can't
Hmm.
stand it. And I was shooting clients that wasn't particularly very nice. Like for example, I was shooting for this events company, and the guy didn't wasn't very nice to me, and I just basically walked out the door and blocked them and never spoke to him again.
Yeah.
It's a completely different story.
I mean,
So,
the annoying thing I'd say about this industry is that yeah, you're definitely open and prone to be had to always come across those kinds of people. But the beauty of this industry is the freedom of being able to just leave and block them
yeah,
afterwards as well. So
yeah. But yeah, I feel like me taking a step back and getting another job, and now I do it. It's really weird because I'm still making the exact same amount as what I was making when I was
Doing
full time,
full-time photography.
but now I've got a full time job and doing this whenever I feel like it,
Yeah, you've
which
got
is
that
main.
luxury, I guess.
Yeah, it's great because I want to say I'm doing it like every weekend,
Mm-hmm.
maybe twice, maybe like 2 shoots a weekend, but I try not to because I want to have a break. But yeah, it's great. I love it. I absolutely love it. But um, it's a lot. But it's just a routine I need to get used to, and I can't expect to get used to it straight away.
It'll
But
take time,
I
for
wouldn't
sure.
change anything right now. I'm really loving it, and
Would you say you're
working.
doing a lot of the stuff you want to do now? That stuff that's kind of like on your Instagram now. Is it more leaning towards the stuff you want to do?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, a hundred
So a
percent.
lot of
And
it you said was studio, wasn't it?
yeah, I'm shooting so much more studio,
Studio,
and my
beauty.
the retainer clients I did keep. I got rid of a lot of retainer clients, and the retainer clients I did keep are the retainer clients that I wanted to keep. And don't get me wrong, that it's not retainer clients that I would have kept because it's stuff that I wanted to shoot, because it's not stuff that I want to shoot. It's just because those retainer clients are clients that are absolutely lovely, and I wouldn't let them go because I don't want to do that to them. Um, they're just like lovely people, and yeah, like I said, I would just keep them because of the relationship we have. But yeah, it's just a very nice routine that I have at the minute, and my mental health is great and my physical health is great. I think I'm just in a very good headspace.
Oh, you sound great, and obviously you look like you're very, less stressed out than you were like 6 months ago, which I think you were
So
literally
amazing.
at that breaking point. I think the last time we spoke, literally you're cracking
Yeah.
jokes about how like, burnt out you were, and that was like
Yeah.
the subject topic of that. But in
Yeah.
6 months you've really done like a 180. So would you say
Yeah.
that, and this is something I always say that I think as like freelancers, you've got to really assess yourself individually and not look at person A or person B that just because they can do it doesn't mean necessarily you can do it. And you have to
Mm.
find your own like formula
Mhm.
for if that means,
Yeah.
picking up a part-time job or a full-time job on the side and then slowly building up to the point of what you eventually want to do in the industry. And, in your case, a lot of it's like studio, high fashion,
Yeah.
beauty, all of that kind of stuff.
Do you know what I think it was for me? I think it was the acceptance of I I was thinking about getting a job, and then I think it was the me letting go of my ego of
Hmm.
being full-time photographer. I think that was the issue. But then me realizing, oh shit, I'm still making the same amount, but then I'll be still. Do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah, and it's like you literally I think said on the last podcast you wanted to work smarter, not just hard
exactly,
for the sake of working hard and like ruining
exactly. I
your
feel like
health
I was
over
just
it.
comparing myself to other people,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah,
it,
and that
it's
success
just the
comes at a
industry. It's
price.
that industry pressure that everyone puts on themselves, and
For
no one
sure,
needs to do
yeah.
it because everybody in the industry is in the same position, and no one's working at the minute because we're in the fucking shit pandemic times, and everyone's
Hopefully not for long, but I
exactly. Well, be honest.
yeah, hopefully not for long, but it doesn't make the idea of becoming a freelancer right now any more attractive, does it, as a
No, it doesn't.
photographer?
But
Just because of all the extra amount of like, struggles you're gonna have to like kind of come face to face with.
yeah,
So yeah,
it
it's
doesn't mean in the next 2 years I won't be freelance full time again. But
but you might be
like
full
I
time in
said,
what you want to do by then, you know what I mean?
yeah, completely. But right now, I love what I do. My work. I I'm not gonna say what it is because I don't think I'm
Hmm.
allowed to say what it is because actually I
But yeah,
think
we
I've
don't
told
want
you.
anyone stalking you either,
No,
so
it's not that. I think I've told you what it is, and then because of
Hmm.
what it is, I don't think I'm actually allowed to say what it is.
Okay, well, I'll tell everyone you're a superhero, and
Yeah, that's it.
you
That's it.
save your real identity. And I'm just joking.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not sure
But
because
yeah,
of actual job. But yeah, I'm just not gonna say it anyway. But yeah,
it's a
I'm just
different
enjoying every
lifestyle,
minute.
just a big lifestyle adjustment that you've had since the last time we spoke, and obviously, like, you're reaping the benefits of it, and it's good to see that mentally you're in a good space because it's easy to really, like we said, get burnt out, get kind of, fall into the fray of that industry pressure where not only are you just wanting to obviously secure money because then obviously it's a way of like furthering yourself in the industry, but it's like securing status comes at a cost, securing jobs comes at a cost. You're not always going
Mhm.
to be doing what you love at the start before you do what you really want to do,
Yeah.
and it takes time. Some people can get there on day one just by pure luck. Some people can get there by, on the last podcast we were talking about nepotism and access. People know each other, and certain doors are open for others, certain doors and avenue just aren't.
Mhm.
Some people just a little bit more unfortunate in the ordeals of how where they live. They might not have as much access, economically. Like, there's so many different,
Yeah.
like, things that are problematic about just being in the industry, but the best thing you can do is just start working on yourself. That's at least like something you have ownership of, you know what I mean? So if that means like picking up something on the side for the sake of being in a better place later, then it'll pay off, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And don't let your ego hit you. Just suck it up and
Yeah, honestly,
honestly.
it's a huge ego game, and I think it's one of the reasons I really enjoy shooting clothes, because a lot of the time I'm just dealing with the clothes. They have no, like, ego. Is just clothes and
Yeah.
design, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna get annoyed by clothes, and
Mhm.
it's always just like my attention's always around the clothes, and it's never around getting obsessed over shooting anything but the clothes. So in a way,
Yeah.
I'm always a lot more concentrated on where I want to be,
Mm.
and I could easily fall into the habit of I want to shoot this kind of brand and this brand and this brand, but like you said, I understand that it's a long game and it takes time, and we're all on that journey to slowly get there.
And we're all young. We've all got years ahead of us.
Yeah, honestly, like, you're Gen Z, I'm a millennial, I'm 29, you're 22, and honestly, I still feel like I'm trying to figure the whole industry out and where I want to be in it still. But that's the beauty of it. Like, I just like being where I am and not kind of knowing what's coming next.
Yeah.
In my
It's the
last job,
beauty of it.
yeah, in my last job, I didn't really have the excitement because I felt like everything was planned out for the year and I knew exactly what I was doing the next day. And for me, like, the kind of person I am, like, it just wasn't exciting.
Mm.
Hi, Kovu in the back.
He's absolutely sleeping right now.
It's become a feature podcast now with the dog. We're gonna have to
He's
ask the
so
dog
cute.
questions later as well.
He's
So
still awake.
speaking of like self-worth, right? This whole idea of like, finding your self-worth. I see that a lot of times that I get questions, and you probably do as well. Like, how once you like find your staple like in the industry, how do you actually solidify your self-worth, like your rates? Like, how does someone decide how much should they charge?
Well, what I always say to I have an assistant who I won't say her name, but I have an assistant who she asked me she asked me the other day. She had a job and she was like, I'm shooting this person for this amount of hours. How should I charge it basically? And I was like, well, what you really need to factor in is um, what's the basically what is your average like time that you're going to be shooting, and what do you want to get paid for that, and then you need to factor in your travel, how long it's actually going to take you to get there, including like your travel, like getting like your tram, if you're going to get a tram, if you're going to get a bus, if you're going to get petrol, things like that, and then if you have to rent lighting, stuff like that, and then you got to then factor in your camera insurance, and then you got to factor in your actual camera gear, and then it's all that, and then
Even
you
your
do
software, you
exactly.
pay
You've got your
for that kind of
Adobe, and then
stuff.
you've got
Yeah.
things like that. And then if you do think about it, that does sound like a lot of money. So you've got to kind of crush it down to a decent price in an hour.
That's
But
kind of in
then
line with like the market as well, because you got to figure out what with like you got to try and be at the psychic at the same time, because not
yeah,
everyone's going to openly just tell you how much they charge, because it's like
I'm not going
a
to tell you how much I charge because because then you have people that undercut you, and then that's what
no,
I
not
have
just
in.
necessarily undercut you, but they will make,
Mm,
you'll give more incentive to others to try and find out who your clients are, try and get in touch with those clients, and then try and market themselves. And so, I
exactly,
see you're
and I've
working
had
with
that
someone.
more times than I could possibly count in my life. Um, but yeah, and it's not that as well. And then you've got to factor in how much experience you've got, what's the client's budget. Does the client have a decent budget? And then if the client doesn't have a decent budget, then you've got to work out. So say if the client has a budget of, I don't know, £300, but they need a model in that, if they need a makeup artist in that, but they need a 3 hour shoot, like it's not really realistic
Good
then.
luck finding all of
You
them
know
at
what I mean?
once.
It's not realistic then. So then
Yeah.
it's a difficult one. So what you really realistically need to do then is, I feel like you need to sit down and either write everything out, um, get a baseline, and then go from there. Or, like I said, see what your client's budget is, and then go from there. But I I do have a specific rate and a set rate. But then if a client can't meet that rate, I do tweak it, but then meet in the middle, if that makes sense.
It is about compromise. Like you don't really want
Yeah,
to lose your opportunity to try and like grow with that client, but you're not always gonna land on where you want to be. So
mm,
it's negotiation skills is huge in this industry. Figuring out your self-worth is a trial and error game with each client. You're going to have to figure out how long it took you to do a certain kind of job, and
yeah,
you might realize in your head, oh yeah, I think this will be fine because I'll be able to get this done in such amount of time with all this equipment. And then things can just completely change when you're on the actual, like, on the actual job, and then you might realize you're either overworking yourself or you didn't charge enough. But that's like food for thought for later. So I've realized that over the past few years my rates have just constantly been changing each year with the
mhm,
circumstances that I've had to deal with. New gear, um travel, all those kind of things, like my software services, the insurance, everything. I literally sat down and I was like, I used to do hourly rates, and then I just started changing it to something a little bit more appropriate for my clients, which is fashion. And most of my
mhm,
clients will either shoot half day or full day, and that's pretty much it. So I was like, if I can just kind of, it's easier. It was easy for me to unpack all that in like those kind of ways. And for others, if you're shooting models, it might be better that they only need an hour or 2 hours, and it might be better to have an hourly rate. It's something you're gonna have to really sit down, like you said, and figure it
yeah.
out.
But what I'd also say is always factor in your editing time as well. I feel like people always miss that out, and that is a big thing as well because people don't. And I am really bad for it. I don't think about editing as work, and it is. And I was sat down before and I was editing, but I was also watching Netflix as well whilst I was editing. And I was like, I'm working, and today's supposed to be my day off.
Yeah,
And it's like, and I don't feel like it clicks sometimes. But like, don't get me wrong. What I do charge is I do put like an editing fee in, but I feel like some people don't do that, and people don't realize that, and I feel like
I think
people
yeah.
need to
So people
factor in
might
that
think
in
that
the
the
fee.
job might just end at your physical labor, but
Yeah,
obviously you might end up taking a lot longer on something later on. So you just got to factor all of those things in, and then even then, it's like have you still got the right price? And I don't think there's ever a set price. You're always going to have to update it with the circumstances you're in. Like the pandemic made a lot of people shift their rates down. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
100%.
So, it'll be interesting to see where we go when everything's opening up. Is it going to be better? Is it not? But yeah, just be conscious of your self-worth. There are a lot of people, I think, especially who are young and not doing enough research. Not even young, it's just people who are new to the game. I don't think it's necessarily an age thing. I think it's just people who just jumped into the industry, very new to the game. Just take your time and research on
Mm.
the market.
Yeah, I would also say people that are new into the industry, photographers, anyway, they're working for, what is it, time? Is it time for print?
Trade for print,
Trade for print.
I think, which is basically
For the time, what is it? The basically just shoot. Shooting for free.
shooting for free
That's
is
what
like
it
the
is.
easiest way we can
Um,
get it done.
I would just say,
But you're trading each other's like services, so they get the prints, and the
yeah,
other people get.
is I
I
think
get
that
confused on that as well. That terminology.
yeah, I feel like there's a fine line between
Well, they
collabing.
get the service of the model, I guess, in it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like the trade.
I think there's a fine line between that and someone taking the mick out of you. Um,
Let me try and see if I can get a definition
because
up. But yeah, I
if
understand what you're
someone is
saying.
genuinely needing their portfolio updated, like a model needing their portfolio updated, and then them reaching out to you and being like, "Yo, let's collab," to a newbie photographer, not necessarily newbie photographers, so just someone that's not, say, professional. Um, I feel like that is taking the mick because they need their portfolio updating, and they're taking a liberty out of someone who isn't necessarily going to have the confidence to charge somebody because they have, I don't know, maybe just a following, maybe, I don't know, but I
Oh,
feel
you
like,
mean like expo? Yeah, like paying
yeah,
paying an
just,
exposure, like, or like your
yeah, you know what I
your
mean.
trade agreement
Like,
is exposure. Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like then put your foot down. But if you do need to, if you're a photographer who needs to build the portfolio and the model doesn't really need the portfolio updating, then it is a good way of getting the portfolio updated.
I think
So
there's a right time to figure out
it's
when you
just
need to charge, and there's a right time and place for when you think it's not necessary. Like you're both getting something out of
yeah,
value.
it's just finding equilibrium at the end of the day. To be fair, but
Hmm.
it does take a while to figure that out and get your feet in the water, I
Yeah,
guess.
I will
But
say this though, like the more people that learn how to find earlier on in the game, how to charge and find the self-worth and then do it to a really, um, I'd say fair degree so that they're being fair on themselves, then
hmm
everybody wins in the industry. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like everybody will
because
win. We'll
I've
all get a
I've
lot
had it a
out of
few
it.
times where I've had clients come up to me and message me and be like, "Oh, can I have your rates?" And then they'll book in a shoot with me, and then they'll cancel, and then they'll go to someone who is completely new,
Take
and
all your planning, your mood boarding, and like, there you go.
yeah,
Cheaper
and
person, there you go.
they'll just no, not even cheap, just completely do it for nothing.
Oh no,
And
as an
I'm
actual
like,
commercial client, that is
oh,
that's
and I'm
that's that's illegal. That should be illegal. But this is the stuff. This is one of
criminal,
the
absolutely criminal.
it's one
But
of the double-edged swords, of being in the industry. Like this kind of
it's
stuff happens all the time, and you just have to be aware of it. You got to be very like conscious about you know it has ripple effects. If you just learn how to figure out the maths of like everything you need, it'll benefit you in the long run. And I think the pressure of I think it's not necessarily, people aren't doing it just out of like, oh, they don't have the knowledge of doing it. I think there's an urgency that's create, and we talked about this in the last one, didn't we? There's like an urgency to get there as fast as possible, achieve
yeah.
success as fast as possible. And one of the most attractive, you know, new, like a fresh conversation starter is, hey, do you want to work trade for print or like for free, or I'll do
Mm.
the shoot for you if you can give me
Or do you want to
exposure.
collab? I feel like that is the open
Collab,
liner
that's
of
the one I
the.
should have said, yeah.
Do you want to
Um,
collab?
yeah, yeah.
If you say that to me, you're gonna get a big block.
Yeah, so
Mm.
it just really take your time, and I understand there's a huge pressure in trying to build that portfolio, but where you can see an opportunity to charge and charge fairly, and you're only gaining respect for yourself as well in the future because people know you take yourself seriously.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the only way you're really going to gain a value out of yourself, to be fair. And it's the only
Yeah,
way you're going to get
you
an income
create
out
your
of
own
it.
value. You create your own
Yeah.
value. So
But
you gotta build that yourself.
that's the only really way you're going to get a job at the end of the day out of it. Is putting your foot down.
Hmm. So we've talked about the industry a lot just then. What would you say what is one thing you love about the industry?
100%. I will say it till the day I die is meeting the people in it. You guys, you, Andy, Sophia,
Our little
Sam,
little little
my little
clique.
Sam Perkins,
Yeah.
Shamir.
I mean, a lot of the models that you shoot, a lot of people don't realize it's not just a one stop and off you go, that you build
No,
genuine connections. And I'd say like
Sophie.
networking. Yeah, networking, like when you work with a model and you do a great job and everyone's in equilibrium, like I was saying before, like, like you can create negative ripples, but you can also create such positive ripples. Like I've had
100%.
so many like people without even me knowing, like, like word just spreads like, hey, you should check this person out, if you really want something, and then another job comes my way just from word of mouth and just building that relationship. And I bet you've had the exact same.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the amount of times that us four, have given each other jobs just from
Yeah, yeah. From working
just
around models,
yeah,
like models will just,
yeah, it's
and that's just
crazy.
word of mouth, you know what I mean? So I think one of the good things about this industry is like that, yeah, for sure the people that you meet. And it's the thing about the 9 to 5 job, like obviously you're starting one as well, but obviously you're still keeping your toe in the other one, so you've got that like luxury. So what I found really frustrating about the 9 to 5 gig was like I was kind of stuck with the same people, and this was it for a long time unless someone left. But no one really just leaves occasionally. It would be like
Yeah,
after a while. So you got to really learn to grow with those people's like positive traits and also their frustrations, and it kind of becomes
yeah.
like it was a bit of mentally draining a lot of the time. But when you meet new people in the industry, it's always like
Mhm.
exciting. It's like always a new adventure. It's always something new to discover, and that's one thing I really like about this industry.
Yeah, I mean it is like that, but it is kind of like having, for me, it's like having a little work family as well, which is nice. But it's just like having a little. For me, it's like having a break from the industry completely, having that other
But
job and
yeah,
having that
you
other
have that luxury now. As soon
career.
as something gets a little bit too
Like
much there, you can go there, and
I
vice
don't
versa.
really ever go on social media anymore, which I must.
Hmm.
I want to know what my Instagram screen time is, if that's a
I'm pretty
thing,
sure it'll be a lot lower than it was
because
six
I
months
bet it's
ago.
about 30 to 35 minutes a day. Because I literally don't really go on it at all
That's
anymore, which
interesting. Yeah.
I I think that's probably what's really helping with my mental health as well.
Take
Um,
care of your mental health, people. Like,
yeah.
Instagram is definitely an
Oh,
addictive game, and
it's so addictive,
you
but
just have to clock in and clock out at the right time. And if you spend too much time on it, then think of it as that could have been time you could have been using to network, meet new people, get more clients. Grow your platform elsewhere.
there's
It's not,
so other
Instagram isn't the only
so
place you
many
can grow.
other things that you could be doing with your time to. I feel like people just scroll and flick through stories when they could be doing so much.
It's addicting, and there's
It
obviously
is.
so much
And we're all guilty for it. We're all
entertainment
doing
and
it
content on
sometimes.
breaking that down now. So, what's one way that you think the industry could improve?
Improve. I feel like we could all be a bit more truthful.
How
Um,
so?
I feel like I said before, my ego got to me. I didn't want to get another job
Mm-hmm.
to improve my mental health. Do you know what I mean? I didn't
Yeah.
want to push my ego to the side to improve my mental health. I didn't want to admit that I needed to take a step back from my job, get another job, and leave the industry alone for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of some clients that I didn't need to be working
Feel like
with.
you've had a good detox, and
Yeah,
yeah.
I just think the people need to be a little bit more truthful, a little bit more transparent in. in the lives, and I feel like people don't need to share as much of their lives as they do online.
Mm.
Because not to be a, I'm not gonna say that word, not to be nasty, but not many people care what you're actually sharing online, I guess.
I think we're
And I
just so
feel,
used to it now, aren't we?
yeah, I feel like I that's what I've learned in the past 2 months is no one gives a damn what I put on my stories. Like, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I came to that
No one
realization
cares.
quite a few years ago, and honestly, I've not used my Facebook since 2015. Haven't used Twitter since 2017, 16, something like that. Left like I mean, I've got my accounts on there still, but I
Mm,
just haven't used it in almost 4 or 5 years, and it was like the best decision of my life. And I just stopped sharing everything I was doing because I just thought eventually you're leaving so much digital footprints online. You're seeing the benefits of the likes and the shares and the comments, the status right now, but eventually that could really come back and haunt you later. Like if someone, like the way that the society is, today, is so you're just gonna make yourself more vulnerable. So the good thing about Instagram I really enjoy is that my platform's like a work account, like yours pretty much is,
yeah.
I'm guessing, and you're only just showing the best side of your work and your talents and your traits, so people can just kind of get to the point of who you are and what you do, you know make those connections about work. And then yeah, just I just found, like you said, like I just found my equilibrium in just living without sharing, and it was really relieving. Like I don't have to worry about, oh no, what am I going to post on this caption and the selfie? No,
Mm,
no harsh feeling towards people who do that, but for
yeah.
me it was I got for me it was mentally draining as well. I'm not the kind of person who can deal with that long term.
Yeah. I just think people need to be accepted into a society that is constantly judging people for things that,
Yeah, the
like,
industry is no different as well. Like,
30 years ago, it doesn't matter. Didn't
yeah, I
matter.
mean, people used to do our jobs like before social media didn't exist, and
Mm,
they were just creating success in pretty much silence. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
it's like there are loads of ways that you can still be successful without depending on your sole image as the main component of your brand. And that's what I wanted to do with my page anyway. I wanted my work to be like the thing that gets acknowledged before me.
Mm,
So it really
like,
took a lot of pressure off.
yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love sharing my transformation on Instagram because I've had so many people message me just saying how
I
motivating it
bet.
is.
Yeah, I bet.
But that is the only reason I do post that. I've had so many people message me just how motivating it is, and I like posting it as well because I don't know if you know Jamie Yates. He's with Nemesis. He was the one that first. I do have a personal trainer with my gym, who did first help me like get into it. But
Mhm,
Jamie Yates, throughout the first lockdown, the recent lockdown when the gyms were shut, he
mhm.
was the one that helped me do the nutrition, and he
Kind
did
of
me a
coaching
quick.
you through it all.
Yeah, he did me a quick program. But I like sharing on Instagram as well, so we can see like how well I'm doing, just to keep him updated. But yeah, it does motivate people. But that's literally the only really thing I do post of myself. But yeah, I think going back to it, I think people do need to be a bit more truthful of themselves. But
Hopefully, there's I mean, obviously, like we're just talking about this one point, but there's so many like great things about the industry, and it's just like you said, if there's one thing I hope people can take away from this conversation, at least anyway, it's just to I think self development is a great tool for getting through it
hmm
in whatever shape way you want to do that, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, whether it's financially. Like you're splitting up your time and work in two different areas now. There's so much to just think about.
yeah,
And there is no one shoe that fits all in this industry. And I think that's a challenging thing, especially growing up in a society where you're always so reliant on, like, or you're encouraged to be very reliant on, like school, college, uni, government, this and
Mhm.
that, your parents, like you've got to start, if you really want to get far in this industry, you really have to just learn to be your own boss. And that's the one of the best things about it. Didn't want to take orders from other people. And now,
Yeah.
for the most part, I'm deciding what I want to do.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like people just need to take their own route as well and not look at other people's route and feel like they need to do the same. But again, we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it, and I know other people are, and I feel like that's where the burnout comes from. And I also think that's where the negative mental health comes from as well. But yeah, I feel like trying to learn to be your own boss is just learning to find your own path in the
yeah.
industry.
And there's so much great like content out there as well for it. Like you found personal trainer, other people can find literature and books. You can look at a
Mhm.
video online. You can literally go somewhere, and learn new things. Like there's so
Just
many different
finding a
ways of doing
hobby,
it.
literally
Yeah.
just finding a hobby that's completely different to the
Yeah, you
industry.
said that the
It's
last
not even
time as well.
fitness,
Yeah.
not fitness. It doesn't have to be fitness. Just something that's
Yeah.
not relevant to the
Yeah.
industry.
I learned ukulele for over 8 years. That was my
There you
other
go.
other hobby.
There you go.
So, it's a reminder that I'm not just one dimensional. I always want to
Yeah.
try and like break out into other things. But yeah, no, that's a great advice that I still took from the last podcast, where it was find something to do differently, because then you're not always feeling like you're gonna burn out in one area, and it
Mhm.
definitely makes it more fun when you come back to photography later. It's like, oh, here's my other hobby that I'm gonna get back to now.
It's not even
So
that. It gives you. I feel like it'll give you more of a creative spark as well.
yeah, for sure. You just need, it's like editing. You spend too much time looking at an image and it starts looking really like weird, and then you just kind of sleep on
Yeah.
it, come back the next day, and it's like you start seeing where you need to do the rest of the work.
Yeah.
For
Definitely.
sure. Well, Megan, it's been awesome talking to you
It's
again.
been great,
Like,
mate. Thank you for having me.
anytime, 6 months onwards again in the future. I wonder where you'll be, what you'll be doing. It'll be
Shove
completely
big old
a
biceps next
big
time.
biceps. Oh my goodness. Probably just get even more like slowly turn into like a transformer each time we do the podcast.
Oh
So
God, I hope not.
it'll be hilarious. So is Kovu still there?
Woo woo.
Shall we like finish the podcast with like a doggo?
1 second, let me grab him.
Okay. This is the only reason I wanted to do the podcast, just so we can get the dog. Um,
He's so sleepy right now.
oh no, he's so peaceful for someone who's just been woken up from his like sleep. So this is the real guest of the podcast, and this is what we've been building up to, Kovu,
He's
Megan's dog.
okay.
He's gonna steal the show. But yeah, do you have any last piece of advice for people watching?
Just to stay healthy and not spend as much time on social media as you probably do. I'm gonna put him down because he's wriggling. No, just to stay healthy and um, just to find other areas of creative output, I would say. Yeah.
Wicked. Thanks for coming on, Megan. It's been awesome. Catch you
Thank
later.
you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for checking out this episode of Time Out. Don't forget to support each guest by checking out their work in the description. And you can also support the show with a like, subscribe, and hitting that notification bell. Till then, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.